Hi, my name is Jesse. I'm 23 and I live in a cramped studio apartment on the edge of Portland, Oregon. The kind of place where the walls are thin and the heat barely works in winter. I've been working construction since I dropped out of community college 2 years ago. Nothing glamorous, just whatever jobs pay the rent. Lately, that's been drywall installation for a renovation crew. We're gutting and rebuilding an old apartment complex in the suburbs, turning rundown units into something rentable again. The buildings from the 70s, all concrete and rusted metal stairs with that constant smell of dust and fresh paint hanging in the air. It was late October, one of those gray afternoons where the rain had stopped, but the chill lingered, seeping into your bones. The crew was wrapping up for the day, guys shouting over the whine of drills, tools clanging as they packed up. I was hauling a full sheet of drywall up to the third floor, balanced on my shoulder, sweat trickling down my back even in the cold. The metal stairs echoed under my boots, narrow and steep, the kind of treacherous if you weren't paying attention. I was halfway up when I heard it. A sharp scrape, then a heavy thud from the landing above, followed by a gasp like someone sucking in air too fast. I froze, shifting the sheet to peer up. There she was, crumpled at the bottom of the flight I'd just climbed. Groceries scattered everywhere, cans rolling, a bag of apples split open. She was trying to push herself up, but her leg buckled and she winced hard, clutching her knee. I dropped the drywall against the wall. It landed with a dull bang and bolted down the stairs. "Hey, are you okay?" I called out, my voice echoing in the empty hallway. No one else was around. The rest of the crew was downstairs loading the truck. She looked up at me, face pale, eyes wide with pain and something else. Panic, raw and unfiltered. Mid to late 30s, maybe, with dark hair pulled back messily and a coat that looked too thin for the weather. Blood was seeping through her jeans at the knee, bright red against the gray fabric. Her hands shook as she tried to grab the railing. "I'm fine," she muttered, but her voice cracked and she couldn't stand. I reached her in seconds, kneeling down. "No, you're not. Let me help." I offered my arm and she grabbed it like a lifeline, her grip surprisingly strong. That's when she looked me dead in the eyes, breathing fast, and whispered, "Don't leave me alone. I just escaped from home." The words hit me like a punch. Escaped? From what? Who says that? Her eyes were glassy, terrified, like she was seeing something I couldn't. The hallway felt suddenly colder, quieter, the distant drill sounds fading away. It was just us, no crew, no neighbors, nothing. "I won't," I said, not even thinking. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up." She nodded weakly, leaning on me as I helped her stand. Her body was trembling against mine, light but tense, like she was ready to bolt any second. We hobbled down to the second floor where the crew had a temporary break room, an empty unit we'd turned into storage with a couch and a first aid kit. I eased her onto the couch, propping her leg up on a crate. "Stay here. I'll grab the kit." She didn't argue, just nodded, biting her lip as she stared at the floor. I rummaged through the box, pulling out gauze, antiseptic bandages. My hands were steady from years of handling tools, but inside, my mind was racing. Who was she? One of the last tenants? The building was mostly vacant during reno, but a few holdouts remained. Kneeling in front of her, I carefully rolling up her pant leg. The gash wasn't deep, but it was nasty, gravel embedded, blood still oozing. "This might sting," I warned, dabbing it clean. She hissed but didn't pull away. Up close, I could see the faint bruises on her wrist, old ones yellowing, or maybe I imagined it. She kept her eyes on the wall, avoiding mine. "Where'd you fall from?" I asked softly, trying to keep her talking. "Top floor," she murmured. "Slipped on the stairs. Stupid." "And the escaping thing?" I couldn't help it. The words were burning in my head. She went rigid, then deflated like the fight drained out of her. Tears welled up, spilling over before she could stop them. "I'm sorry," she whispered, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I didn't mean to say that. It's just the pain. It brought it all back." I finished bandaging her knee, wrapping it tight, but not too. "You don't have to explain. But if you need help, real help, there's numbers I can call. Shelter, cops, whatever." She shook her head fast. "No cops, please." Her voice broke again, and she covered her face, shoulders shaking. I sat there, awkward as hell, not knowing what to do. Finally, I handed her a bottle of water from the mini fridge and the clean towel from the kit. Rest here a bit. I'll help you back to your place when you're ready. She nodded, but the tears kept coming, silent now. After a few minutes, she composed herself, mumbling thanks and apologies. Her name was Marissa. She said it quietly when I asked, like it was a secret. I helped her to her apartment on the third floor, arm around her waist to take the weight off her leg. The place was sparse, boxes stacked, like she hadn't fully moved in, or was ready to leave quick. She insisted she was fine alone, but her eyes said otherwise. As I left, she caught my sleeve. Thank you, Jessie. I'd told her my name earlier. Her grip lingered a second too long. That night, back in my apartment across town, I couldn't shake it. The fall, the blood, sure, but that sentence. I just escaped from home. Who was she running from? And why did I feel like I'd just gotten tangled in something I didn't understand? The building's echoes followed me home, that thud replaying in my head. I'd lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if she was okay up there alone. The days after that fall blurred together in a haze of sawdust and routine. Work on the complex dragged on, sanding walls, hanging more drywall, the usual grind. But I couldn't shake Marissa from my mind. Her face, pale and terrified. That whisper, I just escaped from home. It looped in my head during breaks while I ate my sad turkey sandwich in the truck, even when I crashed on my lumpy mattress at night. Who was she running from? A bad breakup? Something worse? I told myself it wasn't my business. She was just a tenant, a stranger. But every time I climbed those metal stairs, I glanced up at the third floor, half expecting to see her door crack open. It was 4 days later when I finally had an excuse. I'd found her handkerchief in the break room couch, white, embroidered with a small flower in the corner. It had to be hers. No one on the crew carried anything that delicate. I stuffed it in my pocket that morning, telling myself I'd drop it off quick, no big deal. The site was quieter that afternoon, rain drizzling outside, turning the parking lot to mud. Most of the guys had knocked off early. I headed up to the third floor, boots echoing louder than usual. Her door was at the end of the hall, Unit 3B, paint peeling around the frame. I knocked twice, hesitant. No answer. I waited, almost turned away, but then the chain rattled inside, and the door opened a few inches. Marissa peered out, eyes widening when she saw me. She looked better, no limp, knee probably healing, but exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair tied back loosely. Jessie, she said, my name soft on her lips. What? What are you doing here? I held up the handkerchief. Found this in the break room, thought it might be yours? Her face softened, a small smile breaking through. It is. Thank you. She reached for it, but didn't close the door. We stood there awkward for a second, rain pattering on the roof overhead. You okay? I asked. After the fall, I mean. She nodded, but her eyes flicked down the hall like checking for someone. Better, come in, if you're not busy. I hesitated. Crew rules about tenants, but no one was around. Sure, for a minute. The apartment was bare, like she'd just moved in or was about to move out. A single wooden table in the kitchen area, one chair, stacks of unpacked boxes along the walls. No curtains, no pictures, just a suitcase in the corner, and a coffee maker on the counter. It smelled faintly of instant noodles and fresh paint from the Reno downstairs. She gestured to the chair. Sit. Want coffee? It's the least I can do. I'm good, I said, but sat anyway. She poured herself a mug, hand steady now, and leaned against the counter. Silence stretched, thick. About the other day, she started, staring into her coffee. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dump that on you. The pain it caught me off guard. Don't apologize. Anyone would freak after a fall like that. I paused. But, escaped? You don't have to tell me, but if something's wrong... She laughed, bitter and short. Wrong, yeah, that's one way to put it. She set the mug down, crossing her arms like holding herself together. I'm getting divorced. Or trying to. My husband, ex soon. He's not the controlling type. Always has been. Checked my phone, my accounts, who I talked to. Told me what to wear, when to eat. It started small, then it got worse. Emotional stuff mostly. Yelling, threats if I stepped out of line. No hitting, but it felt like it sometimes. I was trapped in my own house. I listened, gut twisting. I'd seen guys like that on job sites, barking orders, thinking they owned people. But hearing it from her, calm but broken underneath, hit different. I finally left one night, she continued, voice dropping. Packed a bag while he was at work, changed the locks on everything I could, drove straight here. This place was cheap, month to month, no questions asked. Figured in a building full of construction, no one would notice one more person coming and going. She looked around the empty room, but I still jump at every noise. Still feel like he's watching. Jesus, I muttered. You call the cops? Get a restraining order? She shook her head. Working on it. Lawyer says it'll take time. He's got money, connections. I'm just trying to disappear for a while. The room felt smaller suddenly. I wanted to say something helpful, but what? If he shows up, the crew's here all day. We'll watch out. She met my eyes then, really looked at me. You're kind. Most guys your age would have run the other way after that meltdown. I shrugged, cheeks heating. Not my style. She glanced around, spotting the flickering light in the kitchen. Loose wiring, probably from the Reno. Hey, that outlet looks shot. And the wall there? I nodded to a crack running up the corner. I could fix it. No charge. Part of the job, kinda. You don't have to. I want to. I stood, already pulling tools from my belt. She watched as I tightened the outlet, tested it with my meter. Then grabbed a spare sheet of drywall from the hall stash, cut it quick with my knife, and patched the crack. Mudded it smooth like I'd done 100 times. An hour later, it looked solid. She stood nearby the whole time, handing tools when I asked. Quiet. When I packed up, she walked me to the door. Jesse, she said softly, hand on the knob. It's been a long time since someone's been good to me without wanting something in return. I nodded, throat tight. Anytime. Walking down the stairs, tools clanking, I felt that pull again. Stronger now. She wasn't just a tenant anymore. She was someone carrying weight I couldn't imagine, and somehow I'd lightened it a little. From then on, I found excuses to check the third floor. Not obvious. Just passing by, listening for sounds from her door, wondering if she was eating okay, sleeping, if she felt safe. I told myself it was nothing, just being decent. But deep down, I knew I was already in deeper than I should be. Those next couple of weeks felt different, like the air in the building had shifted. The renovation pushed forward, new wiring snaking through walls, fresh paint covering years of neglect. But my focus kept drifting upstairs, to her. It started small. One morning, Marissa appeared at the site entrance with a thermos of coffee and a bag of donuts for the crew. For the hard workers, she said with a shy smile, handing it to the foreman. But when she passed me, she slipped an extra donut into my toolbox, a chocolate one, my favorite from the way I'd mentioned once in passing. No note, nothing, just that quiet gesture. I started finding reasons to go up to the third floor, checking a loose baseboard near her door, testing the hallway lights, even when they worked fine. She'd open up when she heard my knock, invite me in for a quick coffee. Her apartment filled out a little. Curtains now, a small plant on the table, books unpacked from those boxes. She looked less like someone hiding, more like someone breathing again. We talked. A lot. I'd sit on her single chair after shifts covered in dust while she leaned on the counter in jeans and an old sweater. I'd tell her about dropping out of college, how the debt piled up fast, how my dad left when I was a kid, leaving mom to scrape by, and how swinging a hammer felt more real than sitting in lectures I couldn't afford anyway. I want my own crew someday, I'd say. Small jobs, fix up places like this. Make things solid again. She'd listen, really listen, nodding like she got it. Then she'd open up too. She used to be an accountant for a mid-sized firm downtown. Good money, benefits, the works. I was independent once, she'd say, voice distant. Had my own apartment, friends, plans. Then I met him. It started perfect. Flowers, promises. But slowly, he chipped away. Quit your job, it's too stressful. Don't go out, stay home. Your friends are bad influence, until I woke up one day and realized I had nothing left that was mine. Her eyes would darken then, staring at the steam from her mug. I stayed too long because I thought I could fix it, that if I was better, quieter, he'd change. She'd laugh softly. Stupid, right? Not stupid, I'd say. Just human. Those conversations stretched longer each time. We'd sit on the bench outside her door when the weather cleared, watching the sun dip behind the trees. She'd ask about my tattoos, a dumb one I got at 18, the coordinates of my mom's old house. I'd tease her about her perfect handwriting and the notes she'd leave with the coffee. It felt easy, natural, like we'd known each longer than a few weeks. I started noticing things. The way her laugh crinkled the corners of her eyes, how she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when nervous, the faint scar on her hand she never explained. And yeah, the age thing crossed my mind. 16 years. But it didn't feel like a gap. It felt like she'd lived more, seen more, and that only made me want to be around her. One evening, the crew wrapped early. Rain had cleared out, but I lingered, pretending to organize tools in the hall. Marissa stepped out with a trash bag, saw me, paused. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah, you?" "Quiet." She smiled, but tired. We ended up on the bench again, sharing a bag of chips I'd grabbed from the vending machine. The sky was turning orange, air crisp with coming winter. I don't know what pushed me. Maybe the quiet, maybe the way the light hit her face, but the words came out. "Marissa, you're not just some tenant to me anymore, or someone I helped that one time. I think about you. A lot." She went still, staring at her hands. The silence stretched, heavy. "Jesse," she finally said, soft but firm. "I'm 39. You're 23? You've got your whole life. College if you want it back. Girls your age, building that crew you talk about. Don't, don't tie yourself to someone who's already broken." "I'm not tying anything," I said, heart pounding. I care. More than care." She looked at me then, eyes shiny. "You deserve someone who isn't carrying all this baggage. Who can give you kids, a fresh start, not this." She gestured vaguely at herself, at the building. "It's not baggage to me, it's you." She stood up abruptly. "Go home, Jesse, please." That was it. No yelling, no scene. Just those words hanging there. The next day, no coffee for the crew, no donut in my box. I knocked once. Nothing. The day after, same. Door stayed shut, even when I knew she was in there. I'd hear faint movement inside. The guys noticed. "Your girlfriend ghost you or what?" one joked. I brushed it off, but it stung. I'd lie awake nights replaying that bench talk. Had I pushed too hard? Scared her off? Or was she right? That I was too young, too dumb to know what I was feeling? Work became my escape. Hammering harder, staying later, volunteering for the crap jobs no one wanted. But every trip up those stairs, I'd pause at her door, ear pressed close, hoping for a sign. A cough, music, anything. Weeks passed like that. The building transformed around us, new floors, fresh walls. But inside me, everything felt stuck. I missed her voice, her laugh, the way she'd look at me like I was more than just the kid with tools. I told myself to let it go. She was protecting me or herself, whatever. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over, not for me. And as the leaves fell outside, turning the ground gold and brown, I wondered if she'd ever open that door again. Or if I'd have to be the one to knock louder. It was a night in early December when everything exploded. The rain came down in sheets, hammering the roof like it wanted to tear the building apart. Wind howled through the gaps in the old windows, and the power in the complex flickered constantly, brownouts from the storm overloading the ancient wiring. The crew had installed temporary fixes weeks ago, but nights like this tested everything. I was on overnight duty, camped out in the first-floor maintenance room with a sleeping bag and a thermos of coffee, ready to patch whatever shorted out. Most of the guys had gone home. It was just me and the storm. Around midnight, the lights dimmed again, and I heard the alarm panel beep. I grabbed my toolbox and headed to the breaker box in the basement, flashlight in hand. That's when I heard it, the scream. High, terrified, cutting through the rain like a knife. It came from upstairs, third floor. My heart stopped. Marissa. I dropped the tools and ran, taking the metal stairs two at a time, boots slipping on the wet grates. The hallway lights were out, emergency bulbs casting long shadows. Her door, 3B, was cracked open, frames splintered like someone had kicked it in. Voices inside, a man's low growl, angry, demanding. "Open the damn door! You think you can hide from me?" Then her voice, muffled but panicked, from what sounded like the bedroom. Get out! I'll call the cops! I didn't think. I shoved the door wide and stormed in. The living room was trashed, lamp knocked over, boxes spilled. A guy in his 40s, built solid with a soaked jacket and wild eyes, was pounding on the bedroom door. He spun when he saw me, face twisting. "Who the hell are you?" "Get out," I said, voice steady, even though my pulse was raging. "Now!" He laughed bitter. "This is between me and my wife. Stay out of it, kid." Wife. The word hit hard, but I didn't back down. I stepped closer, fists clenched. "She's not your anything anymore. Leave." He lunged at the bedroom door again, shoulder slamming it. Inside, Marissa whimpered. God, that sound gutted me. I grabbed his arm, yanking him back. He swung wild, catching me in the jaw. Pain exploded, but adrenaline kicked in. We grappled, crashing into the table. I was younger, stronger from years on sites, and I pinned him against the wall long enough to yell for security. The building guard, old guy named Hank, who'd been dozing downstairs, came running, radio crackling. He helped me hold the bastard until sirens wailed outside. Cops swarmed in minutes later, cuffing him as he spat threats. "You'll regret this," he snarled at the bedroom door. "Both of you. I'll find you." They dragged him out. The apartment fell silent except for the rain and Marissa's quiet sobs from behind the door. I knocked softly. "Marissa, it's me, Jesse. He's gone. Cops have him." The lock clicked, and the door opened slowly. She looked wrecked. Face pale, eyes red, huddled in a blanket. She collapsed into my arms without a word, shaking like a leaf. I held her tight, feeling her tears soak my shirt. "It's over," I whispered. "You're safe." But she wasn't. Paramedics arrived. Standard procedure after a break-in. She was hyperventilating, pulse racing, shock setting in. They loaded her onto a stretcher, oxygen mask on. I followed the ambulance in my truck, rain blurring the windshield, mind numb. At the hospital, they admitted her for observation. Exhaustion, panic attack, minor bruises from the struggle. I sat in the waiting room all night, jaw throbbing where he'd hit me, ignoring the nurse's offers of ice. Couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. Just replayed it all. Her scream, his face, the way she'd hidden but called my name in the chaos. I knew because Hank told me later she'd screamed for me specifically. Morning light filtered through the blinds when they let me in. She was in a gown, IV drip in her arm, looking small in the bed, but awake. Her eyes found mine across the room and she started crying again. Quiet, deep sobs that broke something in me. I pulled the chair close, taking her hand. "Hey, I'm here." She squeezed back hard. "I heard you," she whispered. "Out there. Fighting him. You could have gotten hurt. Wasn't gonna let him near you again." She closed her eyes, tears slipping down. "I pushed you away. Told myself it was for your own good. The age thing, my mess. I thought if I stayed away, you'd move on, find someone easy." Marissa? But when he broke in, when I thought he was gonna drag me back, the only person I could think of was you. Her voice cracked. "I was so scared, Jesse, and all I wanted was you there." I leaned in, brushing hair from her face. My throat was tight. "I never left, not really. I've been right here, waiting for you to let me in again." She looked at me, really looked, searching my face. "I'm 16 years older. I've got scars you can't see. A life that's complicated. I don't care about the years," I said. "I care about you. The you that's strong enough to leave that asshole. The you that makes me laugh on shitty days. The you that's been alone too long." I took a breath. I'm not a kid playing hero. I know what I feel. And I'm not scared of it. The only thing that scares me is you shutting me out again when you need someone. She cried harder then, but nodded, pulling me closer. I held her as the machines beeped steady around us. No more walls, no more pushing. When they discharged her the next day, I drove her home. Our building quiet now, storm past. She leaned on me up the stairs, head on my shoulder. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. At her door, she turned, cupping my bruised jaw gently. "Stay?" she asked. I did. That night, for the first time, I didn't leave. We lay on her couch, her head on my chest, my arms around her like a shield. The rain had stopped, moon peeking through clouds. Something had shifted. Irreversibly. We weren't hiding anymore, not from each other. A year later, the complex looked like a different place. The renovation wrapped up in spring, new siding, fresh sidewalks, windows that actually sealed against the Oregon rain. Tenants started moving in, young couples mostly, some families. The building had turned the old dump into something decent, affordable. I stuck with the crew through the whole job, leading a small team on the final units. The foreman even gave me a bonus, said I had an eye for making things last. Marissa never left. When the leasing office opened, she signed for a ground floor unit, one bedroom, small kitchen, but with big windows facing the courtyard. The one I'd personally hung every sheet of drywall in, mudded every seam, painted every wall. It's mine now, she'd said the day she got the keys, smiling in a way I hadn't seen before. Real. Free. Her divorce finalized a few months earlier. It wasn't clean. She lost the house they'd shared, half her savings, even some old friends who sided with him. But she walked out with her name back, her peace, and a restraining order that finally stuck. No more looking over her shoulder, no more jumping at shadows. Me? Still swinging a hammer. Money was tight. Bills, tools, the usual. I hadn't started my own crew yet, but I was saving. Nights and weekends, I'd take side gigs, fixing up rentals around Portland. But every evening I came home to her. We'd moved in together quietly, no big announcement. Just my duffel bag in her closet, my boots by the door, our toothbrushes side by side. It wasn't some fairy tale. We argued about stupid stuff. Dishes in the sink, whose turn to grocery shop. She'd have bad days, flashbacks that left her quiet. Staring out the window. I'd installed. I'd have mine, frustrated with a botched job or feeling like I wasn't providing enough. But we talked it out, held each other through it. No running. One afternoon in late summer, I was finishing the last touch in what we'd turned into her art room, a small space off the living room where she sketched and painted again, something she'd given up years ago. The walls were bare except for one spot I'd left for last. I cut the final sheet of drywall, nailed it up smooth, taped and mudded the joints like I'd done 1,000 times. Sun slanted through the window, golden and warm, dust motes dancing in the light. Marissa stood by the glass, arms crossed, watching the courtyard where kids played now. She wore one of my old flannels, sleeves rolled up, hair loose down her back. She looked settled. The lines around her eyes softer, the tension gone from her shoulders. "You almost done?" she asked, voice light. "Yeah, last one." I smoothed the mud with my knife, stepping back to check the level. Perfect. She walked over, leaning against the doorframe. "This place, it's nothing like the old house, smaller, simpler. But it feels like home." I turned to her, wiping my hands on a rag. "Because it's ours." She nodded, eyes distant for a second. I used to think my life was over. Like those old walls, cracked, falling apart, nothing left to save. That night he showed up. I thought that was it. The end. I set the tools down, walking to her. "But you left. You started over." "With little help," she said, smiling faintly. She reached out, touching the fresh wall. "You rebuilt everything, not just this building." I shrugged, but my chest tightened. Walls are easy. It's the people inside that matter. She looked up at me then, eyes shining in the sunlight. "I once thought my life had collapsed, just like these old walls." I pulled her close, hands on her waist. "Cracked walls get patched, fallen houses get rebuilt. Long as you're here with me, that's all I need." She wrapped her arms around my neck, pressing her forehead to mine. No words for a minute. Just us, breathing the same air, the scent of fresh drywall and her shampoo mixing. Then she kissed me, slow, sure, like we'd earned it. We didn't get married. No big ring, no ceremony. Life was still work, my hands always calloused, her starting freelance bookkeeping gigs from home. We pinched pennies, ate cheap takeout on the couch, argued about thermostat, but we built something real. Quiet nights with her head on my shoulder, mornings where I'd make coffee too strong and she'd tease me for it. Some evenings we'd sit on the stoop, watching the complex come alive, neighbors grilling, kids biking. She'd lean into me, hand in mine, and I'd feel it. This was it. Not perfect, not flashy, but solid. I'd rebuilt walls for a living, but with Marissa, I'd rebuilt a life. From the ground up, from the ruins. And as the sun set on our little unit, painting the walls gold, I knew I'd do it all again. Every sheet, every nail, because she was home, and I was finally there too.